Gundam.tk presents G-Exes. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2 R's 2 B's from GundamReviews.net. And you can see that the high-grade G-Exes has made a very impressive entrance. He's chopped through all the back toes in his way and helped out Flit in the Titus. But now it's time to hear what about the good, what about the bad of this kit, so that you can make the call, whether it's something you might want to pick up for yourself. Let's kick things off with the negatives, and the first one that I noticed when I opened up the box is that I saw this big sticker sheet and I wondered, are there just too many things, color applications that should be in here that they could have done in plastic, and instead they cheaped out with going with seals. However, that doesn't seem to be such a bad thing, although you would have wondered it would have been cool to have just a little bit of black plastic, I suppose, could have gone a long way to making that up. In terms of the shield, it works well in most ways, except for the fact that it can't rotate around on the arm, so it's got to be locked into place with the manipulator there, and when it's there, that then means that you can't have the shield and beam saber in hand at the same time, which is a little bit disappointing considering that the advanced grade over here can actually have his shield rotate up and down. Now, another thing that you'll notice here, it's a problem for the advanced grade and for the high grade, is just the fact that when you've got a long shield and then you've got big shoulders that protrude, the shoulder is going to get in the way of the shield going everywhere that you'd like it to be. In terms of the overall colors, what do you think of the all-white motif? I think it's a little bit dull sometimes. When it's like this with his legs actually open, you can see some of the gray inner frame there, and I think that's a good thing actually, because when he's got all dull white legs, as the advanced grade does, as you can see on the Genoa's Custom, outside of that little bit of gray on top of the foot, I just think that the lower body is a little bit dull compared to the upper body, which actually has a bunch of gray exposed all over the place. Now, I didn't show off the missile pods which are on his side skirts. It's an interesting idea to have some weapons there. They can fall off if you're not too careful with them, although twisting the body, or once you put the top body into place, they seem to stay locked in pretty well. But there was a pretty simple solution, and that's these are two parts, and the lower part could have been made in gray, and then it would have had the missile pods underneath. And then it might have actually been something that you'd think about displaying instead of just forgetting and treating like regular side armor. Now, the shoulders are a little bit awkward in terms of their posing as well. Usually more posing options is great, but they can move up, down, back, and in, and the shoulder can move, and the gray joint on the inside can move. Basically, you've got a whole lot of options, and sometimes those lot of options can just turn into something a little bit awkward, where they're going to be out of sync, and so you have to do a little bit of work to make sure that all of the parts are lined up if you're going for symmetry. And though you have to zoom in to see it, sometimes it's a little bit annoying that seam lines like this. Bandai has done such a good job lately of hiding them, but these parts just didn't clip together as well as they should, and it is evident from the front, which is disappointing. But my big complaint just has to come down to something pretty simple that Bandai just did with a release just a month earlier. Wolf shows up and he's got his wolf fangs, the beam sabers, and they look good. They can do all sorts of great poses. The pink looks great with the all-white motif. However, when the real grade Freedom came out, it came with oversized beam sabers, and I've got this directly below the other one, and you can just see that it's about 4 centimeters longer. And if they had really wanted to sell Wolf as being something special and that his beam sabers are really interesting, all they have to do is just give you a bigger piece of plastic for the beam sabers, and then that's something that I think they could sell anybody on. As it is, I can just swap these ones in, but they aren't made for the hands the way these ones are, so if they had matching hilts and blades, everything just could have had that little bit of extra oomph. But moving on to the positives, and I have to say that there were a lot for this. Starting with just the simple basics, it was a fun build. It was fun to put things together. The way the legs were done, especially with that knee covering armor, was interesting. The waist section is good. The chest has a lot of little parts, despite the fact that it doesn't look like it actually has any details in it. Those shoulders and the arms and the way that the gray is exposed, it was fun to put this kit together, even though I've already built 3 Wolf models before this. Now the seals, actually the fact that you're going to be getting 2 of them is just a great bonus, especially if you have the advanced grade, because one can go to good use there. But more importantly, I complained earlier about the too many seals, but in the end the black seals I think look great. I'm talking down here on the legs, up there on the shoulders, even on the back of the thrusters. Things are looking good, and that black really adds to it. Just something that you may want to keep in mind is that the black lining marker is probably going to be a better complement for it. The green/teal part, or whatever color you want to call it, in the head for the camera lenses, I think it's great. The fact that it goes all the way through to the back, forward to the front lens, and provides the eyes, and the fact that they've got the raised eyes means all you have to do is go around it with a little bit of black ink, and you could just fill that in and keep the natural color there for plastic eyes to go with the lenses. And as we've seen with the advanced grades, Bandai is doing a very good job of getting the eyes to be conveyed with just raised plastic and a black shadow around it. In terms of mobility, things are just working all over the place. The knees are going to go everywhere, the elbows are going to go everywhere, the feet are going to go everywhere. The shoulders are going to go a little bit too much of everywhere, but they're certainly going to get where you need it to be. And this guy's a dynamic swordsman, and that certainly comes across with just the way that you can move the model anywhere that you want. And then when you throw in things like it's just got a little bit of playability with the fact that you can reach back and grab the beam sabers, things like that are details that often get forgotten, and I think Bandai did a great job of conveying that here in model form. In the end, though, a final verdict must be given, and I'm going to give the high-grade G-Exes a yay, just because it's fun, it's posable, you can do all sorts of little things, the seals look great, and in the end, when you've got that teal in the head, it's looking good, and he's got wolf ears, everything about him, pretty cool, outside of just a few minor problems, as you already heard. There's all sorts of little things, though, that were fun about this. As I put this guy together, I realized, wow, that advanced grade is actually great. If only for the reason that he did a pretty good job of capturing the gray, even there out of focus. You can see it in the arms and the waist and in the belly. Everything is looking good there. So the advanced grade certainly gets a win in my book. And if you just added a little bit of lining and you ordered a set of seals from Bandai, I think you could make that look fantastic if you don't mind the fact that, well, it doesn't move. In terms of the future, well, this is being made before episode 13, so I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the first generation to the G-Exes and to Wolf. In part 1, when I was taking a look at the plates, I speculated that there's going to be remakes in the future, and the news has since come out on the Japanese blogs and everywhere else that yes, there are going to be in the second generation variations of this. Don't know exactly how they're going to fit into the storyline, although you'd think that they would be able to mass produce a suit like this in the future, which makes sense. What about fans that would be looking for a master grade of this kit? We're going to be getting master grades of all of the Age 1 and its wares and the Gafran as the first bad guy in lieu of a 1/100th non-grade. If this was a seed type line, I can imagine that we'd be getting a 1/100th Wolf with no hesitation, perhaps even a Genoa's Custom before the G-Exes. However, is it going to make the step up to be master grade demand? That's something that Bandai, I guess, is going to judge off the first 4, or maybe he could be the 5th, because when I go back and think about all the first generation mobile suits, which ones really stand out? The Bacto was just there for a few episodes. The Zetus was alright, but it's going to be reduced to a grunt suit, as is the G-Exes, I suppose. But do either of those deserve master grades? That's something that remains to be seen. So heading into the final chapter, I cannot wait to see the fates of the 3 pilots of the D-Buzz mobile suits. It's very interesting to see that they just have so few, especially you figure there'd be a whole bunch more Genoases. And what happened to that Genoa's Custom? Could that not make a show up? Maybe the paint can DK is going to be piloting it, I'm just guessing. But anyway, I look forward to seeing Wolf's fate and the G-Exes' fate, and of course everything we're going to get from the second generation. But back to the video, why don't you let me know what you think of this verdict, the mobile suit, the characters, and everything else with a comment down below. Always great to hear from you, so that people are hearing not just my opinion on the kit, but yours as well. Anyway, everybody, Robert184, Gundam.tk, thanks for checking this out, and stay tuned for anime reviews, model reviews, and everything else in between. Thanks for watching. Bye. That right there strikes me as the Bactos, or Dios, or, well, since it's Joseph back there, Kars's worst nightmare right there. Score.